Hello, everyone. I'm letting folks jump on in, but so glad to see everyone here today. I see the numbers steadily climbing, um, but I'll go ahead and mute this for now and kind of just get us started for today. So thank you, everyone, for joining our session today on Achievement Plus. We're really excited to have everyone join us. Before we get started, I do just want to let you guys know some housekeeping items. So class closed captions are available, so feel free to turn them on or off depending on your needs. The Zoom Q&A box is open and available for any questions that you have throughout today's session. Please keep questions specific to today's topic, and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you ask during the session. But if you don't see your answer while we're together, then just be sure to check the Q&A report that we'll send in a follow-up email in the next few days. Today's session is being recorded and will be posted to our Bright Ideas for Upgrade Essentials YouTube playlist, and you can expect to see that video posted within a week. And in the coming days, we will send registrants an email with a link to that playlist, a copy of the slide deck, which contains additional resources, and a copy of the Q&A from today's session. All right, so let's kick things off with our agenda for today. We will start with some introductions and clarifying a few terms. Then we will have an overview of Achievement Plus. We'll dive into things like what it is and why it's valuable. And from there, Renata will show you these tools in a live demonstration. And to wrap up, we'll leave some time for those questions, discussion, and I'll point you to some additional resources. So my name, if you haven't been to one of these yet, is Victoria Fulhenshow, and I am a customer enablement specialist here at D2L. I will be going through the slides today, and joining me is my colleague Renata, who will be showing you these great tools during the demo. If you've been to some of our past sessions, you'll likely recognize Renata, but she recently transitioned to the solutions engineering team, and we're really excited to have her join us today. Before we get too far, let's align on some quick terms. So D2L is the company that Renata and I work for. Brightspace is the product that we make, a learning management system. And depending on where you work, you might actually call your Brightspace instance something different like Avenue to Learn or iLearn NYC. As long as your LMS, as long as you're here, as if your LMS goes by a different name, then it likely still refers to Brightspace. And then we also have our Brightspace community, which is a hub of free online resources where members can find great teaching and learning information, share best practices, and connect with other professionals using Brightspace. We will add a link to the chat for you to register if you are not yet a member. Thanks, Renata. So we would love to learn more about you. I will add a poll here. There we go. So please take a moment just to complete the poll that you see on your screen. These are just a few questions that'll help us better understand you, where you're coming from, how you might use Brightspace. So our first question is what best describes your role? I know that Achievement Plus can be used for any of our customers. So whether that is on the higher ed side, the K-12, in our corporate or association space. So would love to learn more about kind of where you're coming from. The second is how familiar are you with Achievement Plus? We will talk about both what it is and how it can support your learners. So no matter where you're coming from, you should be able to get something out of this session. And then are you currently using the learning outcomes tool in Brightspace? For those who aren't familiar, the Achievement Plus does build on your existing outcomes network. So this just gives us a sense of where you are on that journey. And then the last one is a written one. So I know it'll take a little bit longer, but it's what's most important to you in outcome tracking. We'll just love to kind of read through some of those answers. So I'll play some music and we'll take some time to do this poll and then we'll move on in just a little bit. as people are answering this, I'm just going to kind of talk through what I'm seeing so far. So it looks like most folks here are in the higher education space, but we have actually a few folks from K-12 and the corporate or association space too. Um, and most people here have either never heard of Achievement Plus or are like completely brand new. So this is perfect because this will be just that introduction piece to it. Many of you guys are using learning outcomes already, and if you're not using them or are unfamiliar, we actually had a session last month that's in our higher education YouTube playlist that you can go and review just anything and everything around learning outcomes. All right, I see we're about at 70% participation. I'm going to leave the poll up for a little bit and let you guys kind of keep answering that while I go through the next few slides. All right, so let's start with talking about outcomes-based education. For those who are unfamiliar, outcomes-based education is a learning approach that shifts the focus from what is taught to what learners can actually do. This learning approach starts by clearly defining learning outcomes and then aligning activities and assessments to ensure learners can achieve those outcomes. And outcomes-based education is increasingly being adopted. Why that is that whether you're at a university program or teaching a high school curriculum or even a corporate training pathway, outcomes-based education helps ensure learners master the skills and knowledge that they need. And you can do this all while providing educators and trainers with measurable results. So, with Achievement Plus, outcomes-based education has never been easier. It helps you act on outcome data by giving you three key things: a clear setup interface, centralized reporting tools, and real-time achievement visualizations. Achievement Plus makes outcomes easy to manage and meaningful to use. It supports everything from academic accreditation to industry certification tracking and skills-based workforce development. And all of this really starts with how you set up outcomes. So admins can import outcomes from the Achievement Standards Network. And if you saw that session last month, you got to see that, an example of that. From there, they can also manually build hierarchies and align assessments, and everything is built to be flexible and scalable. Once outcomes are aligned and data flows in, you will get insights across your programs with filters by term and drill downs by learning outcome level. This is incredibly helpful for curriculum review cycles. For example, a K-12 district could likely track literacy development across grades, or a corporate training team could monitor safety compliance across global offices. And then here in this video here, it gives you a quick preview of what the outcome achievement dashboard looks like. Like I said, this is just a quick preview. Renato will be going through all of these things in the demo portion. Sorry, my next slide wasn't quite working. There you go. For instructors, the course achievement overview, which is another piece of Achievement Plus, gives you a quick view of outcome mastery. So you'll see that in like the mastery grade book. It is color coded based on the achievement scale that you've picked and has export options for reporting and documentation. And this course achievement overview also updates in real time. And from the admin side, you can aggregate achievement data across multiple courses. And this makes Achievement Plus perfect for accreditation, program reviews, and the skills tracking. Plus, it's really easy to export what you need. This feature is especially powerful for that reporting piece that I know a lot of you guys have expressed interest in. So before we jump into the demo, I know we're about to take a look at it. I just want to look one more time Yeah, it does look like some folks are still using, multiple people are using the learning outcomes, but there are still a handful that are not using them quite yet, but are planning to. So I'll end the poll now and I'll take a look at some of those short answer options while Renata goes through the demo. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and let Renata take over.
Thanks. All right. So let's get started by talking generally about learning outcomes. So when we speak about learning outcomes in Brightspace, we can really break that up into three different components. So three of them are based on our outcomes tool alone. So that's the creation of the outcomes, aligning the outcomes to those different accessible activities or components within Brightspace, and then the actual assessment of those outcomes. And so where Achievement Plus comes into play is the reporting of that outcome performance for your different learners. So here we are in a demonstration environment. And when it comes to the creation of learning outcomes, those can be created at the course level themselves. But if you want to use learning outcomes more at a systemic level with shared outcomes that can actually be pulled into courses, that process is going to start at the organizational level in your environment. So while at the course level, we do that alignment and assessment, we're actually going to go to the learning outcomes tool at the organizational level, which you might have in your navigation bar. And that's where we're going to start. So here I am. And the first thing that we do here is creating those outcome sets. And so outcome sets are those collection of outcomes that can be shared across the different courses. So we used to call these programs, but we've changed the name to outcome sets. And they're simply just that shared set of outcomes that you can use and create and pull into different courses later. So within our learning outcomes tool, it's very simple to create a new outcome set. You'll just simply select create outcome set and name that. Now I'm going to go into an outcome set that I've already created so I can show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to head into this MACE competencies here. And so what you can see here is that I have a set of outcomes. I've got, let's go into this N2. So I've got my top level, and then I have a supported next level here, this sub level underneath. And then I can actually additionally add in sub-level outcomes as well. So say, for example, I wanted to add in 1.1, I can go ahead and then add in that outcome description here. So it's really simple to do, and Brightspace supports that hierarchy for outcomes in your course. Now, you might be thinking, do I have to create all these outcomes from scratch here just by typing them in? No, that's not the case. You can just come in here and type them in, but we do also support importing them from a file. So what you can do is we actually provide you with a template that you can use to drag and drop your outcomes into this file and then bring them into this space, and then it will create those outcome sets in here for you. So that's an option. Another option is to actually import from outcomes in bulk from the Achievement Standards Network. And this is a really simple process as well. You'll simply just come in here, select the jurisdiction. So let's just select this as an example, Arizona. Then you can go ahead and select the subject and so on and so forth. So it's really straightforward to choose from. And then from here, you can either bring in outcomes from in bulk or select more individualized ones here. So we support that granularity there as well. So in addition to those outcome sets, we also support achievement scales. And achievement scales allow you to create a scale that measures the achievement, so defining that learner's performance. And you can modify what each of these achievement scales are. So I'll just head over into the achievement scales tab here, and you can see we've got a lot of different ones in this demonstration environment. But depending on the program that you might be looking at, you might support a different achievement scale in one area of your institution rather than another area. So let's just take a look at this mastery-based scale here. And so this might be a type of scale that you might want at your institution. So you can select the levels that are here. So these can be customizable as well as the colors here. And then you're going to match those levels to percentage scores. And what this does is it allows you to actually provide suggested levels of achievement on a rubric. For example, if the learner, for example, got 85% or higher, then they would be achieving at that mastery level. So where this comes into play, and we're going to look at this when we look at that assessment piece, is when where you're looking at that suggested level of achievement on a quiz, for example, since we know we're going to align these outcomes to assessable activities in Brightspace, such as assignments, discussions, and quiz questions. So on a quiz, we need to know, okay, if I got 70%, 75% on a quiz, that's actually going to map to the achieved level rather than mastery. So you can choose whether or not to map those or not. So that's what this map levels to percentage scores here mean. So as you can see in this environment here, just like yours, you can have multiple different achievement scales for your organization. So if we jump into this proficiency scale, this scale actually has 4 levels here. So again, you can control the wording, you can control the colors. These are not D2L's achievement scales, these belong to you. So they're completely customizable and you can create them however best fits your programs. So now that we have the outcome sets created and some achievement scales created, next is how do we actually get those outcomes into the courses themselves, where those actual assessments are going to be done and where we are actually going to assess the learners. So let's head into a specific course. So here I'm just in a workplace wellness course at the course level. And now I'm at the outcomes tool at the course level. And so you'll notice here, I have 2 different sets of learning outcomes here. I have these workforce skills, and you'll notice that these, I've already imported these into my course, and I can very clearly see that this workforce skills, they're linked to an outcome set, those outcome sets that we just looked at the organizational level. So it's really easy for me at the course level to actually come in here and import from an outcome set. So I'll get this drop down option, and this will be all the different outcome sets that have been created at the organizational level. And then I'll simply be able to go in and select what outcomes I want to bring into my course here. So it's very, very simple. This My Learning Outcomes area represents learning outcomes that are specific to this course only. So these did not come in from an outcome set created at the organizational level. They were either created manually in the course, or they might have been actually imported from a file at the course level or from the Achievement Standards Network. So we see that same workflow that we saw at the organizational level. We have that consistency at the course level as well. Over here on the settings area, we just talked about those achievement scales. So now over at the course level is where I'd be able to actually select the achievement scale that I'm going to use in my course. Now you'll notice that there's been a default set here. So if you wanted courses in your organization to be using a certain achievement scale, then you can set a default so that that's automatically going to be chosen for them. But they might also have the option to choose a different scale here. Now, just a note that once an achievement scale has been selected for a course and it's actually been used and assessed against certain assessments, then that achievement scale will remain the achievement scale that you'll use for the rest of the time in the course, just due to data integrity there. So just important that when you come into your course and you start assessing, making sure that you have selected the achievement scale that is most appropriate for your course. So now that we have our outcomes in our course, let's talk about the alignment piece. So starting with content. So here I am in the content experience of my course, and you can actually align these outcomes to course content. So here I am, and what I can do is from that topic, I can select this three dots and actually select view outcomes. And here I can see the outcomes that have been aligned to this specific content topic. And if I wanted to edit that and change anything, here I'm going to see a list of all the different outcomes that are in my course, and I'll be able to simply just go ahead and select those off if I wanted to align that piece of content to that. Now you'll notice over here, now in our new content experience, we're actually showing that we are linking these outcomes to these pieces of content. So for the 7 outcomes that I have in this course, 5 of them are aligned to content here. So this really supports knowing that the content is covering what you're expecting learners to do. So we can align outcomes to different content topics. We can also align outcomes to assessments. So let's take a look at an assignment to start with. So here we are in the edit view of an assignment. And once you have outcomes imported into your course, you will see this outcomes title here. And as you can see, I already have 2 outcomes inside my course, and it's really easy to add another one if I wanted to, just by selecting the plus button here. And again, all the outcomes that I have available to me in my course are going to actually appear here for me, and I can align an additional one if I want to, or remove them just as easily and see them here. I'm just going to click back into there. You might have noticed this blue box here. This is an option if you are using Lumi Pro. So this is another add-on and product. But what it does is it gives you the option based on the assignment and the outcomes that you have in the course to actually suggest which outcomes best align with that assessment. So just wanted to show you if you were wondering about what that one was. So it's super easy to align outcomes to assignments, as you can see here, but you can also attach outcomes to rubrics as well. And so what you can see here is if I open up this rubric, I actually have outcomes aligned in this rubric as well. We're going to jump into that in a little bit more detail in a little bit, but just wanted to call that out for you. So again, let's move on to discussions. You'll notice that this looks very similar to what we just saw in the assignments tool. So again, I'll see that option to add those outcomes, and it will be the exact same workflow here. So again, just want to call out that you're going to notice that consistent experience here feels the exact same, whether we're looking at an assignment, a discussion, and then let's look at the quiz process now here. So if I scroll down, quizzes looks a little bit different, and that's because with quizzes, we can actually align the outcomes to specific quiz questions. So you'll notice under each question, I have my outcomes aligned here, and you can actually align multiple outcomes to a quiz question, and it's really easy to do this as well. So for example, I've got these 3 outcomes aligned to question 3. Let's say I want to make a change to that. I can simply just click on the box here and select more actions and align to outcomes. And then here I'm going to again see the same thing that I saw before in my assignments and discussions workflow, all the outcomes that are available to me in the course. And then let's say, for example, I want to remove this one. I'll just take that one away and save it, and then we'll just have those 2 outcomes. Now, what I love about this is you can also do this in bulk. So let's say I wanted to align an outcome to multiple questions. I can do that here, again, by following that same workflow. So let's say that LS1, I wanted to align all of those to that one. I can easily do that straight from here. Let's jump back to rubrics. So if you are using rubrics for your assessments, what you can do with any rubric in Brightspace is you can come into the rubric and you can actually link those outcomes within specific rubric criterion. So here you can see in this understanding of concepts, I've got these outcomes that are lined at the bottom here. And so now, if in this course I'm mapping those achievement percentages to outcomes, then what I'm going to see here is if I go look up at the top, if anyone's in the range of this 3.1 to 4-point scale, we're looking at between 78% and 100%. So wherever that falls along the continuum for the achievement scale that you're using, it's going to automatically map it to that achievement scale level. So we were looking at that achievement scale before where we had mastery, achieved, and not yet, I believe was the other one. So at this point, whatever level they're achieving based on that achievement scale, it's going to automatically do that work for you. So as you can see, aligning and adding those outcomes to the rubric really, really streamlines that process, because as soon as you assess that rubric, it's going to do that mapping automatically for you. So we looked at the creation of learning outcomes. We looked at how you can align outcomes to content, assignments, discussions, and quiz questions, as well as rubrics. Let's now look at, you might be wondering, how do we actually get that achievement level from the learners, and how do we look at that assessment? So let's look at an assignment that you might be assessing for a learner. So here I am just in the assignment workflow here. And here's that rubric that we were looking at before. Now, we've got those outcomes aligned in the rubric. And so now when I actually go to select the level of achievement within that rubric that the learner has achieved, it's going to do that mapping for me. So if I scroll down, I've already done this part where I've selected all the different levels for the learner. And here are the different outcomes. Now, these are the outcomes that were aligned in the rubric. And so what it's doing here is it has provided suggestions for you based on how that rubric has been assessed, based on that achievement scale that we saw. So again, these are just suggested levels. So if you wanted to, you could actually change these and modify them and then actually update that for the learner. So what this allows you to do is also include your professional judgment here, and change anything if you wanted to change anything that the rubric calculated automatically for you. So in Brightspace, we do have 4 different assignment methods. This one here, we had a file submission, so we can see that the learner actually submitted something here. But you can still use this rubric and outcomes workflow here for our other assessment types, such as observed in person, submitted on paper. So this type of reporting is still available, even if, for example, you're seeing a skill or watching a presentation. It doesn't need to be an actual submitted assignment here like this one. So once we've done those assessments within our course, you might be wondering, now where can I actually see that data? And that is going to be populated in the mastery view. So you might be familiar already with the grades tool, but there is an option in the grades tool to jump over to this mastery view. And mastery view is at the course level. And what it does is it shows you the different outcomes that are aligned to assessments in your course at the top, all of your learners on the side here, and then it's going to give them an expected level of achievement based on the assessments that have contributed towards each of those outcomes into your course. So whether you have outcomes that you created at the course level, or whether you have outcomes that have been brought in from those outcome sets, they're all going to surface here. So you'll get a list of all those different outcomes that have been aligned and assessed in this course. Now I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so we can see this a little bit better. So what I'm looking at here, if I'm hovering over Janice Bowman here, is her overall achievement level that's been suggested for this particular outcome observed critically. So what I'm seeing here is that mastery is that overall level of achievement that's being suggested right now. I can also see information like if this is published to her or not, so whether or not the learner can see this. And then the other thing I can see here is this, this fraction here, which shows that there are 8 different locations in this course where this outcome has been aligned, but Janice has only been assessed on 5 of those outcomes. Another thing to point out here is we have these visual indicators here that we can hover over for each of the outcomes, which give the instructor an idea of how learners are achieving according to that specific outcome here. So, you know, the percentage of learners achieving at each level and maybe who hasn't actually even been evaluated by that outcome yet. So let's jump in to look at Janice in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to click into this mastery to look at what has contributed to her getting this mastery level here. Unzoom from this. So here we are in this specific outcome observed critically. And here what we can see is her actual progress with regards to this outcome in specifically. So we can view her historical tracking against this particular outcome, and we can see the specific assessments that have been that have contributed towards this grade. So here in January, we actually had an assignment that was graded once and then graded again. So she's got visibility on the different attempts here. So we can see that progress over time, and we can actually see that overall achievement that she's achieving with regards to this outcome. And then underneath, we have the details about all the different types of evidence that have contributed towards this overall achievement here. So we can see if it's an assignment, we can actually click into the specific assessments to see more detail here, which is really valuable. And then on the right, we can see that we have a quiz here with this question mark. So all of the data is surfaced here for us very clearly to see how this overall achievement has been calculated. Now, on the right here, we can see the calculation method. So this is set to be most common. So what's the most common achievement level that she has, and that's how this is going to be calculated here. But you'll notice that this can also be manually overridden. So again, bringing in that ability to reflect professional judgment here. For example, you know, I don't think that Janice has achieved mastery yet. I actually want to say that she's achieved. She's at that achieved level right now, so I can actually go ahead and update that. And when we look back at the mastery view, any one with a little asterisk beside it shows that that was actually manually overwritten. So this gives us a really nice view into the details with regards to how the learners have come to that overall achievement level here. Okay, just a note here about the calculation method. This can be changed as well. So there are different options if you wanted, for example, the most recent. So there's a different options here as well. So it doesn't need to be set to the most common here as well. So everything that we've looked at so far is part of our core learning outcomes tool. So if you're already familiar with learning outcomes, this might have been just a quick review for you. And if you're new to learning outcomes, I hope this helped you understand how the learning outcomes tool works in Brightspace. What I'm going to show you now are components of our Achievement Plus package and how it stands out and how it helps. So let's jump into the back into our course. So we looked at this achievement scale before. This is where at the course level, we chose the achievement scale that we wanted to use in our course. But I'm going to scroll down, and there's something that I didn't show you before, and this is part of Achievement Plus, and that is the achievement threshold here. So what this does is drawing a line in the sand to say anything below that line means that you have not achieved that, and anything above that line means that you have achieved it. So in this case, I'm saying that if they're at the achieved or higher, they have actually met that outcome. And so that is going to reflect in other areas of the Achievement Plus dashboards that I'm going to show you. But what we're doing is turning that achievement outcome into a binary yes or no. Yes, they actually have, or no, they have not met that achievement threshold. So we would be able to set this at the course level, and that this is a new part. So if you're already using learning outcomes, you're familiar with that achievement scales piece, and this achievement threshold is specific to the Achievement Plus tools here. So um, in this course, since I'm using that scale of not yet, achieved, and mastery that we looked at before, I'm setting this to achieved here. And then based on that completion, when they're assessed, if they've hit that achieved level, that's actually going to impact two of your data sets. So this is where this comes into play as well, is you have an outcomes assessed checkpoints data set. So once that outcome achievement dashboard's enabled, that an additional column is going to be populated for you that says has met achievement thresholds, and it's going to populate with that data when assessments meet that achievement thresholds. And then there's another data set called outcomes course specific data set. And so when this is enabled, that achievement threshold column will populate within the data set when assessments have met that achievement threshold. So basically those data sets are going to help you see, did a learner achieve that outcome or did they not achieve that outcome? But where this also presents itself is in the mastery view of the gradebook. So one of the areas that I didn't show you before, so we looked down below here at mastery view, but in Achievement Plus, you have this additional piece called the course achievement overview. And this provides you with those better insights into that met or not yet binary that we just looked at when we set that course achievement threshold. So of the learning outcomes in my course that have been assessed against, here's what I can see here. So I have those top level outcomes, and then here are my sub outcomes. And now I have a really clear idea of how many learners have been at particular levels. So for example, in this outcome here, I have 5 learners that are actually achieving mastery. Then I've got 2 learners that are at that not yet achievement level. And then I have 2 people that actually have not been evaluated on this yet. So you'll notice that because I set that not met and met threshold, it's going to group them here. And I can see that really clearly as well. So I'm going to be able to see that for all the different outcomes that have been assessed against in my course here. We can also export this as a CSV. So the CSV that gets exported here is not going to actually have student data aligned with that. You won't be able to see a particular student's name and if they've met or not yet. It's just going to show you based on each outcome, how many learners have met it, how many learners have not met it, and how many learners are at those different levels along the achievement scale. So no student names will be populated in this CSV file. So the achievement course, the course achievement overview is the first component, and that works with that achievement threshold at the course level. But what we can also do is provide that in aggregate at the outcome set level with the outcome achievement dashboard. So let me show you that piece next. So the outcome achievement dashboard would be visible from the Insights portal. And so if you're a Performance Plus customer, you are going to see the Outcomes Achievement Dashboard, which I have here. You'll see that along with the other Performance Plus dashboards. If you don't have Performance Plus, then the Outcome Achievement Dashboard would just be on its own there. So let's jump into this Outcome Achievement Dashboard. So from here, what the dashboard does is, like I said, provides an aggregated view of the organization level learning outcomes, so those outcome sets that are shared across multiple org units or courses. So just to call out here, if you are familiar with this outcome achievement dashboard, we did in our November release have a new update to this. So any achievement standard network outcomes, the ASN outcomes that have been added to an outcome set now will appear in this outcomes achievement dashboard. So if you are using those ASN defined outcomes, this is going to allow you as an administrator to get a more complete and accurate view of the outcome achievement across all outcome types. So just wanted to call that one out if you weren't aware of it. So let's start by going to the outcomes data, outcome sets dropdown to select an outcome set. So here I'm going to see all the outcome sets that my organization has. And I'm just going to select this workforce skills outcome set here. And this is going to generate this dashboard visualization for me here. So here I'm going to see all of the outcomes that are part of this specific outcome set, workforce skills, along the left-hand side. So I've got a couple that haven't been assessed yet. That's why there's nothing there for them. And then what I can see on the other side is if I hover over, I'm going to see a percentage of the number of learners that have either met this outcome or not met this outcome in aggregate for this workforce skills outcome sets. So these are not relegated to a single course. This is looking at if you have pulled this outcome into a course anywhere in your organization, it's going to filter back into this aggregate report. So from this top level outcome, collaboration and teamwork here, I can actually click into it and view the sub-level outcomes that are nested below the parent outcome. And from there, I can further examine those sub-level learning outcomes that actually contributed to that parent program outcome. And I can actually see again here how many learners have either met or not yet met this. So what this does is it allows you to analyze that achievement data at all levels of the learning outcome hierarchy. And I can even again select even deeper into this next outcome to see that lower level outcome until I reach the lowest level of the parent outcome here. In addition to filtering by the outcome set, which we can do, you can also select one or more semesters from a semester dropdown. Now, in this case, I don't have any semesters, but this will help you to narrow down the data scope to a time period that might be relevant to your reporting. But they would show up here if you had them. And then you can also filter by specific specific courses or org units by searching or selecting one or more org units from this drop-down filter here. So if I wanted to look at this business department as a whole, I could select this entire one, but I could also look at a specific course as well. So you have the ability to get even more granular and just look at a specific course offering if you wanted to, or for example, an entire department if you wanted to as well. So even though the achievement dashboard, as you can see, allows you to sort of meet those reporting needs without the need to build a custom report, we do know that there are times when further analysis is needed. And for that purpose, you can also easily export this data into a CSV file for additional review or sharing online. So again, this CSV report doesn't include student names. It's just those aggregated numbers of at this outcome, this is how many users have attained that achievement threshold that we looked at and who has not. And again, like I mentioned before, this also provides you with that extra column in the data sets to allow you to easily interpret the data. So you can see that met or not yet met to easily delineate. And from here, using the data sets that we do have available, you can actually build your own dashboards as well if you have that capability as well. So just to recap what we looked at, the following features of Achievement Plus, we looked at the outcome achievement dashboard, which is what we're looking at right now, which you can access from that insights portal. So again, this provides those aggregated views of organization or those outcome sets that are shared across multiple courses. We also looked at the um, let's jump back into the course achievement overview. So this is at the course level where we can see in the mastery view of the gradebook, which we can see that clear visualization of that met and not met achievement data. And those thresholds were set up at the course level with that achievement threshold that we set up. So as you can see, with Achievement Plus, it's really makes it easy to deliver those outcome-based assessments in a more streamlined and efficient manner. We know that outcomes-based education is really an industry best practice, and student-centric and really provides clarity on learning outcomes and assessments. But some of the challenges with that have been sort of finding a solution that's been able to do this holistically at the course and program level that's easy for everybody to use. So we hope that Achievement Plus, that use the capabilities of Achievement Plus can help you with this. So with that, I'll stop and turn it back to Victoria. We might have some questions to answer.
Yeah, we've had a number of questions, and I think there's still one in the chat that I haven't had a chance to, or the Q&A that I haven't had a chance to get to yet. But can the achievement threshold be set at the org level or just course to course? That's a really good question.
Hmm. So the achievement threshold is set at the course level, and that's because it's dependent on the achievement scale that you're using. So like we saw, you can have a number of different achievement scales set up in your organization, but each course everyone might be used, not everybody, but there's going to be different achievement scales being used across the organization. So that achievement threshold is set at the course level.
And then I know I want to make sure we have time for resources before we really jump too far into Q&A, but we have one additional question, real quick from Terry Ann. I'm trying to get more information on how to use OA with Analytics Builder. I think that's more, Renata, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's more of a Performance Plus question, correct?
I think we're referring to the outcomes achievement, Tarian, the outcomes achievement dashboard with Analytics Builder. So using the data that you can pull from here for perhaps to build your own visualizations in Analytics Builder. Okay. Yeah, that is a great question. I'm certainly I'm wondering if we do have some resources in the Brightspace community that might be able to support with that. But that's also a really great question that you can reach out to your customer success manager about, and they might be able to help lead you in the right direction. We certainly do have teams that can support you with that at D2L. So there definitely is support there if you're looking for help with that.
All right. I am going, thank you so much, Renata. Let me take over real
Stop.
fast and make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I think you might have to stop sharing
I
before
was
I'm
gonna
allowed to
say,
start
I'm like,
sharing.
I think I'm still
It's
sorry. Okay. Uh,
always fun trying to switch screens live, guys. And then I'll show everybody
oh,
just a few resources before we jump into like official Q&A, official discussion, everything. I know everybody's very excited about this, so it's really cool to get to see everything. So Um, just jumping in real fast, we'd love to hear from you guys. I know Renata gave a lot of information there, and it's always great to have her here. We've created a post-session survey and would appreciate if you could just share your feedback on this session with us. It helps us to improve our offering. So whether it ends up being an analytics builder session that we might have in the future or something like that, we really take your feedback seriously in these surveys. So the link to you scan the QR code, sorry, or the link for that will be in the chat soon. And we've also added a couple of links on the slide that provide information on our product idea exchange, otherwise known as PI. Um, if you have any feedback regarding Brightspace itself, just be sure to check out those resources. And then, oh, Renata, you got it. Perfect. Thank you. And then we do invite you to join the Champions program. I don't know if you guys are champions already. You might have seen an announcement go out recently about getting points for attending these sessions. And so there's kind of a campaign going on right now to get folks, champions to join. So um, if you are not part of the Champions program, being a champion gives you the opportunity to receive points for, like I said, attending webinars like this, submitting blog posts, and giving us reviews online. And then you can redeem those points for things like gift cards, additional D2L services, swag. Um, you know, the options are almost limitless. So the link to sign up to be a champion will be in the chat as well. And then one more slide before we jump into our discussion Q&A reflection time. But we do have plenty of webinars coming up soon. So here's a look at the rest of our sessions for this month. I know we have a variety of folks here. So as a special note, for our higher education session on Wednesday, December 10th, we'll actually have our instructional design team joining us and sharing some things for that optimizing course content in Brightspace. So that one will be very fun and exciting. We have some guest speakers coming and presenting for some future sessions after that as well. So stay tuned for more information there. The links for those are in the chat or are coming up. And speaking of webinars, our training team does host two monthly sessions for all Brightspace users. The first is a Q&A drop-in session, so you guys have some great questions. For those sessions, you can get your Brightspace questions answered in real time by our training team. And the second is focused on what's new in Brightspace. So that's using our monthly release notes. These sessions do give you free access to our D2L training team that you might not get otherwise. So be sure to check those out if you're available. Thank you, everybody, so much. And thank you again, Renata.
Thank you. Take care, all.